This is the Here For You podcast. I'm Matthew Timler,
I'm Zach Scher.
and we're going to be talking about the Master's electrical test and everything involved with it. So the Master's test is based on NEC, just like the Journeyman's test. And at Master's level, depending upon the state that you're in, you have to have anywhere from 10,000 hours to, I believe, up to like 14,000 hours. Average is like 12,000 hours per state. But we're going to mainly talk about the Wisconsin test, and then like I'll touch on some of the other states that I have my master's in and like the variations between them. So, Zach, with the master's test, it's definitely a little bit different than the journeyman's. What's something that you had your primary focus of study being on going into the master's test?
Some of the more difficult sections, maybe the inpatient, outpatient, ambulatory. I don't know why, but I focused on that one a lot, thinking there was going to be a lot of that in there. Calculations, just the odds and ends stuff that's not day to day, receps and breakers.
Yep. Did you feel pretty prepared? Like what when you're in the midst of taking the test, after you've done the studying on those specific things, like did you feel more qualified or like more confident in the moment?
I did. It was kind of confusing and surprising, some of the stuff that's in there that you're like, what even is this? Like
Yep.
a medium voltage cable on the wall of a tunnel stretching 2,000 feet. How often you got to ground the sheathing on it? I still to this day don't know.
Yeah. There's definitely some that they like throw at you and you're like, I don't even know where to find this in the code book. Like what you just referenced, I'd probably want to jump to like 110 right away. But like I don't know because I don't know. For some reason, anytime I saw a tunnel, I was like, I needed to go to 110 and like I'd get lost. And then I'd be like, oh, I'm not supposed to be in 110. So how much time did you study prior to taking your master's test?
Half hour to an hour a day.
Okay. And what resources did you use?
Just a code book and mock journeyman or mock exams.
Okay. And did you like buy those online, like Amazon, or where'd you get those?
Just found some free ones online. Had some from the apprenticeship too,
Yep.
left over. It's not so much the actual questions. I think it's just something to get you in the book and get you moving around in there.
Yep. No, I totally agree with you. That's like the biggest thing is just opening it and like figuring out how to navigate the other sections and then knowing where to look to get your answers to. Like, especially with calculations, motors and the calculations that go with the motors is just like knowing what sections to go in when they're throwing all of the like description at you. Like, hey, I know I need to be here to size the wire and like I need to know this and this and this and this to be able to get the answer to this. I feel like that's like a huge part of the master's test to me is they want to know that you know that there's like 5 steps to this and they're giving you the 5th step and you need to fill in the other 4 because you need to know it. I
Yep.
feel like that's a huge part of the master's test to me.
One of the other nice things about doing those practice exams was if I did hit one that I could not figure out, I had time to reach out to some of my mentors, my master electricians that I was learning under, and reach out to them and we could figure it out together.
Yeah, I definitely did the same when I hit stuff and not know where to go. Um, you kind of described a question in the test. Was that the hardest question on your test? Or was there kind of a harder question that you can think of and be like, hey,
I
this
think
one
that
could
was one
come
that
up?
stumped me.
Yeah.
Wouldn't say that was the hardest one. Hardest was some of the calculation stuff, just keeping track of it. It does carry over to multiple questions then, that same calculation. So I feel like that could be an issue too if you screw something up right from the start. Now, you didn't just get one wrong, you got 5 wrong.
Yeah. I remember sweating bullets like when I had mine that was that way, thinking like, and I hate how they put answers close together on the masters. Like sometimes on the journeyman, it's like so far apart. You're like, oh, this is pretty obvious. Well, like on the masters, they'd have like, I typed something wrong in the calculator and I'd know it was wrong, but like somehow I'd land on a number that they had on the sheet. And I'm like, you guys are so dirty for
They
that.
do, and they have Motors, they'll do that with like they'll give you if you accidentally did it off the nameplate instead of the table.
Yep.
So yeah, they're trying to
Like you need to know your shit a lot more in your
yeah.
masters. Like you need to know the difference between FLA and FLC. Clearly, like in the journeymans, it's like they'll give you like here's the nameplate rating, but then like here's the FLA, and you're there. It's almost impossible to like get it wrong as long as you know how to calculate something. Cause like you'll type it in on the journeymans and be like, well, that number's not on there. So I used the wrong number to start out with. Where the masters, like they'll full blown just trick you.
Yeah, I think they know some of the places where you might forget to throw in the 1.73 or 172
Mm-hmm.
and throw that answer in there.
Yep. 100%. What helped you pass it? Like in the moment, going through it. It's 50 questions for anybody who's curious. You also need to get a 70% on it in the state of Wisconsin. It does test on the SPS 316 as well, which is the state code. But like that gives you almost 5 minutes a question. How did you dissect it? When you're going through the test, you get the sheet of paper. What's Zach thinking?
I went through all the questions just to see what was on it because master's exam, how hard is this really going to be? Spotted a couple that I was able to do right away, and then I went back to the beginning to fully go through it. Just kind of hit it question by question. The really hard ones, again, just skipping over them, coming back to them because I don't want to waste too much time on them.
Did you ever think about like, hey, this is how many I have to get right? Or like this is how many I can afford to get wrong? Were you ever doing that math in your head?
I was already doing math. There's enough math on
Yeah.
the test, let alone trying to keep track of how many I had right.
I was a little sadistic to myself. So I put 15 check marks or 15 Roman numerals up in the top of my sheet paper that they give you as like scratch paper. And as I would like get towards the end, basically I would like circle one. If I circle the question like I had explained in the journeymans where like I don't really know this answer, but I need to come back, I would like circle those. And if I saw 15 circles on that sheet of paper, I was like, oh, dude, I'm sweating bullets right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally like I wanted to know. I was like analytical. I'd failed my journeymans, so I never wanted to fail my masters. And I was like, I think I ended up passing it with an 86. But like I also finished my masters 30 minutes early, and I did the same thing that I did with my journeymans. Like I did my check mark, star, circle. Check mark being 100% know what it is, stars pretty sure, circle is have no clue. And then like I did the same thing as you. I read all the way through it, and I did what I did on the journeymans, wrote like code articles near it, like just hoping that I could find answers accidentally. So, um, when did you end up passing your first time?
I did.
You did? Do you remember what you got?
I want to say a 78.
I mean, dude, that's still killing it. That's even though a C doctor is still a doctor. That was always my saying because I think when I passed my journeymans, I barely passed my journeymans. I was like, I'm still
Yeah.
a doctor.
I think I got a 72 on a journey. It's like just squeaking by. Doesn't mean I'm a bad electrician. It's
No, by
just
no means. You're like one of the better electricians that I've ever met in my life. Just if we're
oh,
being like fully
thank you.
transparent. When somebody's thinking about taking the masters, obviously like in the trades, there's almost no reason to like take your masters except for almost like an ego boost or opening your own company. Like what drove
Yeah.
you?
I wanted that status. I wanted
Yeah.
that title. Our previous employer, I just never really got like true respect over there.
Yeah.
And I guess I felt having my master's, I would have got some more respect, which I did. It was cool to have. And people were like, oh, good job.
Mm-hmm.
But we both got it when we were really young yet.
Yep.
We took it right away. So it was, getting that respect. And it's like, well, he's just a kid. He doesn't know. And now we have people in our company here that exceeded us so far
Yep.
at that when we were their age. It's
Mhm.
really cool to see.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some people where it's like I'm jealous. Like I wish I would have done stuff as early as you did. And it's like I felt like I did stuff young, but then it's like they make you look in the mirror. Like, nope, there's always somebody better than you out there.
Yeah.
I'll touch a little bit like on the different states because I have my license. I don't even know how many states I have my license in now, but the masters kind of differs from state to state. Some you need like a general contractor's license, some you need an electrical contractor's license, some you just need a master's. When it goes from state to state, I would say the hardest test that I had to take was probably Georgia's for an unlimited license. They give you 8 hours to take the test, and there's 166 questions. And I would say 80 of those questions pertain to electrical. The rest of it pertains to IRS code, project management, blueprint reading, like business law, lien law. Like they give you a stack of 8 books that they're like, hey, this is what you need to study on. And these are the books that you can bring into the test. And you're like, gee.
Sure. So they're understanding that, you only need one master
Yep.
in a company. And so if you're taking your masters, you're probably going to be running a business at that point.
Yeah. And you have to be like, if in that state, in order to own and operate the business there and register it, you have to have a master's license. Like you can't, their master's license, like you have to have passed it. You can't go open a business like an electrical contractor. That master has to be at least 50% owner or more in Georgia. Like you can't own a business, an electrical business in Georgia
sure.
without that being the case. That's just Georgia. Like Arizona that I have it in, they don't care. They're like, just get a master on your staff and put them down as the registered. So like every state's a little bit different. Like there's a bunch of states out there that don't care, but like I would say Minnesota was probably the test that I went into most unprepared. I had already passed like 9 different masters at that point, and I was like, I'm gonna kill this one. I got 73. I almost failed that thing. Like I didn't study a lick before that test, and I went in there so arrogant, and part of me wishes I would have failed, so I would have had to retake it. But
Yeah.
I'm glad I didn't. But that test was they test a lot more theory.
Okay.
So like it was weird because all of a sudden they're having me do a series parallel circuit with like the reciprocal method of finding the resistance, and then they're like, hey, what's the ohms? And like I was like, I haven't touched this in like 10 years.
Yeah, you like theory though.
I do, but like I don't stay up on all of the calculations behind it. They don't give you a calc sheet. Like you have to have all this stuff.
Like, are they
memorized
going
in
all the
your
way
head.
down to like Coulomb?
Yes.
Electrons and
Yeah.
like in per mole of copper?
Yes. It's like I think there's probably like 6 questions where it's like, I wish I had my code book with like the 12.9 for copper and like the 27.6 for aluminum for voltage drop. Like they're asking me to do a voltage drop calc, and I'm like,
there's an app for that.
Exactly. It's like, oh my goodness. So every test is a little bit differently mapped out. Like every state, some states take like just the NEC, like North Carolina, I think is just 2023. And then you got Georgia's just the 2023 with all that other stuff. But like Michigan has their own state code. Minnesota has their own state code. Like they take the NEC and do exactly what Wisconsin does. So I guess for anybody who's on the fence about the Masters, like why should they do it? And maybe, yeah, just why should they do it?
Well, they must be wanting to do it.
I mean, if they're on the fence, what if they just
They're on
have
the
the
fence.
hours and they're like, other people are telling them to
And
do it?
they're wondering if they should do it.
Yeah.
If you're on the fence about taking your masters, you're probably in a good position to do it. 10 years down the road, you might not be in that position anymore, and you might need it. You might, times change. You could need a master's license. You could need to be doing your pulling permits for stuff, or, you never know where it's going to go.
Yep.
So it's always good to have it in your back pocket as a safety net.
And I always look at it as like, it's the pinnacle of the career. So like technically kind of like in our career. So like, why not do it? Like, why not accomplish everything inside the career that you,
Yeah,
to
for
me,
sure.
like it's not going to hurt you. It's only going to help you.
Yeah, it can only help you.
So if you're thinking about doing it, just do it and just build some excellence into your career and kill it. So with that, that's the Here For You podcast. And I'm Matt Timler. That's Zach Schur, and you guys have an amazing time.